We're on the DadSpeed server instance again, and having located some player enemies and taken over an enemy player base, it's time to get established, get resources, get fortified, build new things, and enjoy some fresh piracy here on the server. We've got a lot to do, and not much time to get it done, so let's get to it. So, having hacked a few of the functional pieces on the skeletal base left by Joramani, it was time to get myself a little established. And to do that, I needed resources. Now, one of the nice things about this ultimate miner is that it's well suited for establishing new bases. Not only does it have a cryo chamber on board so I can log out and back in and help maintain my player, it also has a survival kit, which I can use to convert stone into the basic materials of iron, nickel, and silicon, and also make some of the more basic components to get going. The survival kit is limited though in what it can manufacture, but it's enough to get started and build a basic assembler. So that's what I did. The game's progression really feeds you through the survival kit to the basic assembler and then to the large assembler and refinery. I don't think it's really possible to skip the basic assembler step. The survival kit can't even make small steel tubes for conveyors, but that's not a problem. Just replacing one of the blocks on the outside of my miner and bam, basic assembler created. This skeletal base was fine as a jumping off point, but everything is very exposed. So my plan was to move a short distance away and drill into the side of the mountain and build a recessed base embedded into the rock. So this plan had several parts. First, build a large refinery and assembler, create a long conveyor system over to where I wanted to start drilling, and build my drilling array that would bore into the side of the mountain. I did have to do a little reconfiguring of the landing pad because this miner does need to be slightly raised off the ground when it lands, or else I can't get underneath to reach the cryo chamber or survival kit. But with that squared away, it was pretty easy to get the large refinery and large assembler built. The conveyor system, however, took a bit more doing, as it was a lot of piping that had to be hand placed, and I didn't have an atmospheric welder yet, so a fair bit of hand welding. In hindsight, it probably would have been easier for me to build a new little power station with wind turbines over near the new site and put my large refinery and assembler over there. But hey, hindsight is 20/20. I just did what I needed to. With the drilling rig, I really thought I could get away with just having a drill spaced at every other block. But after testing that setup a little bit, I found that sometimes, occasionally, it would leave a small fragment of rock behind, just hanging in midair. And that would have definitely caused me some problems with my build. I probably would have just slammed into it with my ship and destroyed everything. So that design changed. A drill at every block it would be. Now, I didn't do a ton of calculation, but I figured that 9 blocks high and setting the drill rig up to bore 15 blocks wide should give me a plenty big enough opening to fly in my big miner, have equipment in there, and just do whatever I needed to do. You can see here that the opening will be 9 blocks tall with just the stack of the drills, and I can get that width by adding together the 3 block length of the drill along with the 4 conveyor tubes. When it swings to the other side, it'll double that 7 block reach to 14. And I can add one more block that's right in the center for the hinge. That'll give me the 15 block width. Another thing with this mountain drilling exercise is that I'd be able to save a lot of this stone and use the large refinery to convert that into iron, nickel, and silicon. Mostly iron, which is good because that's what you always need the most. I did have to temporarily build 3 or 4 large containers to hold the stone, and even then, I wound up not collecting a bunch of it, because this was a huge amount. but it would definitely supply me with a ton of ore to do whatever I wanted. I used the new event controller to change the direction of the hinge, to make it swing back and forth. You actually need 2 controllers to do this, and I explain that more in a whole separate video, but essentially, it's because you need one to change its direction at one end of the swing, and another to change it at the other end. The cavern was coming together nicely, but I needed it deeper than my original set of pistons, so I got a bright idea. I thought maybe I could preserve my set of drills by attaching it to the foundation of the cavern itself with a couple merge blocks. It seemed like a pretty good idea, but the snap of the merge blocks was so violent it just wound up breaking blocks. I probably could have fixed this pretty easily. Again, another realization I had in hindsight, but I thought I'd go for a different idea. I thought maybe I could just place a bunch of blocks around the drilling rig, kind of holding it in place, and then when I re-extended the long arm with the additional pistons, I could connect it back up by reattaching the hinge. But that didn't seem to work either. The hinge head got out of alignment just enough and wound up just pushing the whole thing around. I realized what I should have done later, and did do later in this video. Yeah, that hindsight thing again. Maybe I should have titled this whole video Hindsight. But anyway, the drills were working great, munching into the mountain and making me piles of resources. So while that worked away, it was time for the next project, to build a defense drone. I kind of wanted it to have a little Star Wars TIE fighter look to it, but I also wanted to keep it really simple and basic, lightweight but capable. And I'll probably have a whole separate video just about the end result of this drone, because like everything I build, it went through a number of iterations, improvements, and redesigns before I finally got the result I was happy with. Other than playing around to test out the new AI grid blocks, this was my first real time in a live server build using these new automaton blocks. Basically, I wanted the drone to automatically detect an enemy, take off and follow a short, safe flight path away from the base, go attack the enemy, then, on its own, return to the base and follow a similar flight path back to the dock. Fairly straightforward tasking. Like I said, I will have a whole separate video on the deeper aspects of the drone build, but I did formulate a couple overall opinions about these AI grid blocks. I found the way you set waypoints in these new flight recorder blocks to be a vast improvement over the manual GPS waypoints you had to apply in the prior remote control block. Now, you can just take control of the drone, put the add waypoint action on your control bar hotkeys, fly the drone, and just tap the key to set whatever waypoint you want. It's super easy, and the waypoints seem to be internally saved within that specific recorder block, and don't clutter up the rest of your GPS coordinates you have for your character. That clutter is what it would create before with the remote control block, and I found it a little bit annoying to have all these drone waypoints everywhere as GPS coordinates that I also had to try to manage with unique naming conventions just to keep everything straight. So this is remarkably better. The first tests of the drone were okay. I mean, it did take off and go to an enemy block I had placed, but it also smacked into the ground some and caught on fire. It was okay though. It was still a work in progress. Back at the base drilling, my mountain boring rig was finished. So this time, I enacted a new and improved connector method of attaching the drill rig to the ground so I could safely withdraw the pistons. The cavern was about as deep as I thought it needed to be, but I wanted to keep the drilling rig in place just in case. I believe so far we've made good progress. We've hollowed out the side of the mountain, gathered a large pile of resources from the stone, got a decent start on building a defense drone, and have a good vision for where we want this new pirate base to go. Next time, we'll start building out the interior of the base, construct a large and hopefully cool-looking hangar door, start searching for some of the more difficult resources we're gonna need, and improve the drone. Till then, take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.